Cypress Development Corp. is developing a world-class lithium resource in the heart of Clayton Valley, Nevada. The size of the resource makes the Clayton Valley project a premier asset with the potential to impact the future of lithium supply. Cypress Development Corp. trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol CYP, the OTCQB, symbol CYDVF, and on Frankfurt, symbol C1Z1. For more information, please visit our website, cypressdevelopmentcorp.com.
Welcome to the Goddard Report. Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Sheryl McCumsey, founder of Pesticide Free Alberta, and also who takes a look at other issues here. Safe Seafood Matters, Pesticide Free Edmonton, Pesticide Free for Canada, Eco Justice, Stop the Spray BC, and Pesticide Free Powell River, where you live. So, Sheryl, you're certainly involved in a lot of areas here, but they all have to do with trying to keep nasty, pesty chemicals out of our food supply.
Yeah, and the more you get involved, the more you see that it's a system that's not resilient, it's not sustainable, and right now I think food is on a lot of people's minds, so very important issues.
A lot of people, because they've had trouble you go to the grocery store, there's empty shelves, and you're not sure where those supplies come from and how secure they will be in the future. What can you do as an individual to make sure your food supply is more secure and safe from dangerous chemicals?
Well, first of all, if you have the opportunity to grow a garden, and I think a lot of people are doing this because, I've been in contact with West Coast Seeds and other seed companies, and on their website they have ability to order online. And I did order some things actually myself from West Coast Seeds March 22nd, and it's on its way apparently, finally, but they're overwhelmed. And so if you have access to local seeds, or if you're thinking of growing a garden, I would get on that, start planning that, and do it. Because food is going to become more expensive. I guarantee it. It's, and like you said, more concerns about where it's coming from. And if we're looking around the world where farm workers and farmers and our supply links and everything are being impacted, having your own food in your own yard is not only a good way to spend the time if you're off work right now, it's healthy, but it's also a really good idea. And there are some sources out there that talk about the 10 best foods to grow. The Watershed Sentinel actually posted something about a book that they're making available to people. Free shipping is what they're offering until, I think, June 1st. The book is called Changing the Climate and the Seeds We Sow. So I would start thinking about that. And if you, they're still making certain things essential services. So community gardens are still considered an essential service. If you haven't looked into that, that's one thing. And also supporting local farmers. A lot of the BC market gardens are looking at having online ability to order your food locally from farmers locally. Never, ever has it been more important. It's always been important, and the food system has been in a crisis for a long time already, but now it's really important that people focus on it now, because I suspect this is going to go on for a year or two at least.
Now, a lot of people are under the idea that if you buy organic, it's more expensive. Is it really?
Well, there's not a real black and white answer to that question, because there's several reasons why organic can be more expensive, or sometimes it's actually cheaper. And value added, it's like if we're spending money on supplements and buying conventional food, I'm thinking maybe you should be focusing on your food a whole lot more, and the fact that there's multiple studies showing that organic food often has higher nutrient value in their micronutrients and so on. And then you're also not having all the inhibitory effects of pesticides on the gut and other things. So it's a multifaceted kind of way to try to answer this question, because again, too, if a farmer is certified organic, he has to pay for that certification, which is kind of a backwards thing if you ask me, but it's the reality. So knowing your farmer and how they grow their food, if you have that opportunity, you may be able to get and source organic food that's not actually certified organic. Now, that's kind of a negative for those farmers that go out of their way to do that, so that you can be assured that at least they're trying to follow certain practices which will enhance not just the food quality, but protect pollinators, protect your water, and keep the resilience of the soil up. But again, even there, it's not all black and white. There's so much more to farming than just organic practices. There's permaculture and agroecology, and the more you dive into the science of how we could treat our farms as ecosystems instead of just continuously putting inputs to the soil in the form of synthetic fertilizers, you can create an ecosystem on your farm. And this is the way of the future. This is the resilience that we should be looking for in our agricultural systems that exist and they work. And so it's a hard question to answer. Certainly, if you're buying conventional food and you are just concerned about pesticides in your food, there's the Environmental Working Group has a list of the dirty dozen, they call them. It does give you some kind of guidelines about foods that you definitely want to avoid if they're not organic or you don't know what the farmer's doing. But again, as we're buying local and organic together, we are increasing our food security system locally, and that is so important right now. It's never been more important. When we look at the debt of farmers across Canada, right now the National Farmers Report that came out says the debt for farmers is pegged at around $106 billion. And this is also related to this issue, and that continuously putting farm inputs into the soil is not really increasing production long term, like we're led to believe. It's taking away money from the farmer's pocket, and learning how to be a more resilient system where we're looking at ecosystems on the farm, where you're actually using everything on that farm to produce healthy food and keep that soil healthy is the way we should be going.
Of course, the big chemical companies have a lot of propaganda out there telling farmers if you want to be productive, you have to use these chemicals, do they?
Yes, they do. And they have a lot of money to do that kind of marketing. They have a lot of money to do that kind of lobbying. If you're looking at federal links that show how many times one chemical company might lobby to one department on one issue, it's pretty incredible. And so who's opposing that? Well, there really isn't anything opposing that. There's no money to be made in that. I mean, I make no money doing this. I'm just concerned about the future of Canada and the future for our young people in this country. It's pretty sad for them right now. You know, we're all somewhat isolated, and we're all sitting here wondering what's going to happen. Well, one of the things we could be doing is, you still can practice social distancing and be working in a field. So if you're out of work and you're healthy, maybe this is one way to get your hands dirty in a way that you can feel truly productive, maybe feel better about just being outside and actually productive, I'm actually going to be offering help to farmers in this area. I'm not going to even ask them to pay me. I'm concerned about their being around when things start, maybe returning somewhat to normal. But I don't think we're ever going to return to normal. I truly do not think that's going to happen. I think people have to understand that this is illustrating very clearly to us that we have serious weaknesses in our systems worldwide, and that we used to grow a lot of our food locally, and now we're exporting and importing massive amounts of food, and that system is very weak. It's very expensive, and it doesn't really give us quality food. So that's where, we need to heal the crisis in our biodiversity and heal climate crises, and there's so many solutions to just doing something differently, which is agroecology.
We'll have more with Sheryl McCumsey right after this.
Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications, patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Avon Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia and the Yukon, trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the OTCQB, symbol ABNAF. Surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines, Avon's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at avonresources.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Sheryl McCumsey. Sheryl, do municipalities have to have a more open mind about community gardens or having gardens in front yards? A lot of cities and towns have bylaws prohibiting you from having vegetables growing in your front yard.
Well, if you take a look, Victoria has actually really leading the way in looking at food security right now. They're actually talking about not planting flowers, but planting food crops everywhere. And so that's really remarkable. And there is a couple who sells, they're kind of like they provide seeds and plants and stuff, which is a bit of an issue right now because there's even a problem with nurseries providing plants and vegetable plants and fruit trees, etc. Byland Market, which is a big market, has had a worker that was tested positive with COVID-19. So the supply chain for there has even been strained. So I've been looking at different companies, and one of them, they're not necessarily big, but one place you could look is EcoSense, and on their website they talk about food security, and that they were expecting this a long time ago to be an issue. So absolutely, municipalities need to get on board. If they don't, you have to think of what's going to happen if you don't address this. One of the most primary things we need is shelter, food, and water. And if you have massive amounts of your public sitting around at home, sitting on their hands, not knowing what to do with themselves, and they don't even have enough food to eat, you're going to have chaos. It's absolute chaos. We need to address this right now, and one way we can do that is by all municipalities taking upon themselves to have a real focus on food security for everyone. And that means growing food everywhere, just like we would expect if we were in a war and our supply links were broken. This is a virus that is waging a war on humanity, I guess you could look at it like that. And it's teaching us a lesson, and we need to pay attention to what that lesson is. It's apparent to me that people in Victoria are on this already. And even where I live, people are talking about, hey, we need to look at this here locally as well. We have land that's vacant. Let's use it. Let's grow food on that land. And so learning how to cook is another thing. There's a lot of people who are at home and don't even really know how to cook. They're so reliant on takeout and restaurant food. There's all kinds of resources online for that. So start looking on how to cook some good food for yourself, and you might actually enjoy learning something. Some of us have kind of avoided these things because we haven't had the time. Well, if we have the time now, there is opportunity here. We can use it to enhance our lives in so many ways. Instead of just seeing this as a negative, it can be a positive, because quite personally, I knew this was going to happen. We live in a world where people move around very quickly. We've been putting pressures on ecosystems, which has basically been why this has started, is that, we have markets that are encroaching on wildlife and introducing things that we shouldn't be doing. And so that's, if you look at all the diseases that we're looking at that are a threat to us, we're really creating all these problems by not treating ecosystems with respect.
Monoculture is not a good thing. Whenever they rip down a forest for lumber and pulp, they plant just one kind of tree. Should they just let shouldn't they be planting a variety of trees and let the forest go through its natural cycle instead of starting off with conifers, which are supposed to be the mature growth?
Absolutely. It is a huge risk for fire to be spraying herbicides that actually dries down all of that plant matter. It creates a tinderbox. And then we have trees. One kind of tree that's susceptible to insects and disease. We're seeing that happening. When you have diversity in a forest, it looks after itself so much better, and really we should be considering the value of some of these other trees, like alders, for example, have a value, but we get so fixated on one thing that we miss the bigger picture. And every issue and everything that we're doing in forestry and agriculture both, monocultures are a huge risk in so many ways, and they just never will work. You'll constantly be looking for a fix to that. Until we understand ecosystems and how they work, we're always going to be fighting against that. And when we fight against it, we hurt ourselves. We make ourselves sick. We create forest fire hazards. We create disease and pests that get out of control. So it's just, we're going to either learn the lesson or we're not. And it's really in our face right now. And it's like, are we actually seeing what the lesson is there to teach us? I hope we do, because even though this is pretty sad and hurtful for a lot of people, some people have lost people they love, and some people are very sick, and it's put a huge economic strain on our health system and all systems in general. We have to start thinking differently? Do we need CEOs or do we need farmers? Which are more valuable right now? I think we have to open our eyes to that reality, because if you don't, it doesn't matter how much money you have, you could be a billionaire, and if you basically are making money off of all us slaves out there and we're all sick and dying, you're not going to have anybody out there that's going to work for you to provide your food. So we have to open our eyes to who's really valuable. I mean, the grocery workers in our stores are valuable people. We probably never looked at them like that before. But farmers, local organic farmers, are probably more important than just about anybody else near us in our lives.
We'll have more with Sheryl McCumsey right after the break.
Engineer Gold Mines is focused on the exploration and development of the historic high-grade Engineer Gold Mine situated 32 kilometers southwest of Atlin, British Columbia. Engineer Gold Mines is fully permitted for surface and underground exploration, with the drill program now underway. Engineer Gold Mines Limited trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol EAU. For more information, please visit us at engineergoldmines.com.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Sheryl McCumsey. Sheryl, a lot of students who were expecting to have summer jobs don't have jobs to go to now. Should there be a way to encourage them to get into helping out on farms instead of relying on migrant workers to do that?
Well, I think so. I know I've already heard that some of those workers are not coming because some of them are sick, and some of them are staying at home for whatever reason. And so, some farmers are already concerned about this. We've seen a tremendous amount of food waste already happening. That's happening for multiple reasons. One is, just getting the market that farmers had before isn't there, like in the form of restaurants or what have you. But absolutely, it's illustrating to us so many weaknesses in the system. So if you're able-bodied and have any interest whatsoever, and maybe even if you don't, maybe give it a try and see. There's an opportunity there for young people to get out and learn something new. I mean, sometimes this is the thing. It's interesting for me as an individual that as a younger person, I absolutely detested anything to do with a garden. I hated it. And what happened is years later, I decided I didn't want to have a lawn. I didn't want all the work of looking after a lawn, of watering it and cutting it and weeding it. I thought it was boring, and it is boring. And I still see people doing it. But I'm also seeing a lot of people ripping out their lawn and planting a garden right now like I've never seen before. And it's amazing when you actually change gears and do something different, how much you find out that maybe you actually like this thing that you thought you wouldn't like. So I think, there's an opportunity here, and we need to start valuing our food as a thing that we put in our bodies 3 times a day, that's going to have a huge and profound impact on our health now, today, and tomorrow, and forever, basically. So this is an opportunity. Even though it's difficult, it's an opportunity. And if we don't learn the lessons, it's going to keep coming back to us. So I hope young people do reach out to farmers around in their area and start thinking outside the box of what they normally do. For me, I'm just going to ask that the farmer maybe reciprocates and just donating a little bit of food to our family. And I would appreciate that, but I don't have any expectations for that. But I'm pretty sure that if someone out there is wondering what they're going to do with themselves, this is one thing they could do.
Well, I'm thinking a lot of municipalities are saying they're going to be short on money because they've had to lay off workers and their tax revenue is down. How about letting some of this vacant municipal land and parkland that's not going to be tended and turn it over to community gardens?
For sure. Absolutely. And if there's a person out there who's interested in becoming, running their own small market garden, maybe this is the time, because we cannot expect that we're going to be able to transport all the food we need long distances in the world that we're living in right now. And this is an issue that's going to come up over and over again. If we don't learn, it's going to keep coming back and illustrating to us why it doesn't work. And it's, there's so much controversy about certain pesticides out there, and some people are saying, well, we can't stop using that. We have to have an alternative. But there's already alternatives there. And that's the system that farmers are using right now. So for sure, all these people out there, I don't know, there's a different way of looking at things, and I certainly do not have all the answers, but there's a lot of people out there who are looking for answers in a variety of ways. Start looking at people who have already maybe set up a plan, like Victoria has got a plan already online for their city. So, Vancouver and surrounding areas should be working together on creating a plan for people who are unemployed and for food systems that have been weakened and so on. We need to do it right now. This is the time. Start planting, putting seeds in the ground right now.
I mean, I look at New Westminster where I live, right in the middle of the city. There's a big, ugly, vacant plot of land that's gravel. That would be a great place for a community garden next to the SkyTrain station.
Yeah, you'd probably have to do some things in order to grow if it's gravel, right? But yeah,
well, you have boxes that are raised up off the soil, so if it's contaminated, you're not, sucking up the contamination.
Yeah, you wouldn't have to worry about everything around it. It'd already be set up for that, for sure. Yeah, it's like even in our yard, we have a couple of raised planters, and we decided we were going to put in another one, but we haven't the opportunity to actually do that. So what we're doing is we're just cutting out the grass and flipping it over and getting a bed ready before we actually build it to put more potato plants in. So we're going to be growing as much food on this place that we're living on right now as possible. I planted 2 olive trees. I planted a couple of elderberries, a black mulberry, raspberries. I'm planting all kinds of vegetables, and I live in a duplex. So, I have a bigger than ordinary duplex size, but I'm making, this area where I live is going to be quite lovely, but it's going to be full of food. And then when I'm not working on my property, I'm going to be working on a local farmer's field when he needs help to support him. And I have the opportunity to do that because I'm fit enough and my husband's able to work from home. But if we have most of our food provided for us this way, that's going to lower our cost of living tremendously, and we're going to be eating well, and I'm going to enjoy it. I know I'm going to enjoy it. I know there's a lot of people out there who are really worried and stressed out, and there's ways of, trying to deal with all of that. And one of the ways is getting outside and growing something. And I hope that everybody takes this opportunity and looks at it as not just a negative, but a positive.
Yeah, and nothing tastes as good as homegrown carrots and peas and other vegetables like that. My biggest challenge as a kid when my mom sent me out to pick carrots and peas was not to eat them all before I got them back to the house.
Yeah, there's something about a carrot that just came out of the ground from your garden. There's a texture of that carrot. There's a kind of a texture that I don't know if I can describe it, that you will never get from a store-bought carrot. And there's a sweetness that you can never get from a store-bought carrot. Even if it's organic, I love organic food and it's better, but growing it in your own garden and eating it when you just pulled it out of the ground is, you can't get enough of that. There's something in your body that says, yes.
Sheryl, what are some of the sites people can go to find out more information about some of the things we've talked about?
Well, the BC Association of Farmers Market, I noticed that they're going to cover some costs of farmer markets online. So, you might want to look at the links there to see which farmer markets are doing what and see how you can go shopping in your local farmer market because they're open still. And you want to know before you get there exactly how that's going to be set up and what you can access there before you go so you're not wasting your time. And then I think there's a lot of really great people who are providing food, like this EcoSense I found where I was reading what they were saying, and basically they're saying who's going to plant and harvest our food? And they say all of us, and they're right on with that. And they give lots of good information on their website. So EcoSense is really good. The National Farmers Union has a publication that I think a lot of politicians should be looking at that talks about all the concerns and what we can do. In Vancouver, I see there's a couple of places that I see a Figaro's garden and a Hunter's garden. Some of them are kind of running out of stuff already. There's, if you Google your area and seeds or organic or plants or whatever, you'll find things like there's a Brother Nature Organic Seeds and there's West Coast Seeds and there's a BC Eco Seed Co-op, which I found really interesting. You can go there and they have links to different seed companies. And on Vancouver Island, there's Fruit Trees and More. There's also on Denman Island, I ordered some of my trees from them called Tree Eater. And all of these people are quite knowledgeable and willing to help. So you just Google and you'll start finding all kinds of resources out there. And I prefer to get organic because I found in the past a lot of these plants are more resilient to begin with, and then you don't have to worry about neonics being in that plant, which of course will be harmful to pollinators. So if you're not getting organic, at least ask your greenhouse whether there's any neonics and that you expect them to give you a clear answer about whether there's neonics in those plants. And then composting. Don't forget to compost. That's part of the circular system that we throw out things that we call garbage that isn't really garbage, it's a resource. So start composting. And of course we have to think about the little critters out there. So at least look at your composting system and make sure that, raccoons and rats and things can't get at it. So there's a whole bunch of ideas around the best compost system for your area where you live too. People are using old freezers, I've seen old freezers in this area which can be actually locked and keep bears out, so pretty much. So there's different ideas about that out there.
Sheryl, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Thank you, Jim.
My guest has been Sheryl McCumsey, founder of Pesticide Free Alberta. There's also other sites you can go to. Pesticide Free for Canada is another one of them. And through the interview, she also mentioned other sites you can go to get more information about organic farming and how to take part in it yourself. If you have any questions for Sheryl or any of our other guests, you can send them to info@howstreet.com, our YouTube channel, Talk Digital Network. Find us on Twitter @Talk Digital Net. We're also on Facebook. I'm Jim Goddard. Thank you for listening.
Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. The Goddard Report is available online and mobile at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. The Goddard Report is a production of How Street Media Incorporated.